A brand is the trust you've built.
Yeah.
It's just trust.
Yeah.
So does the experience build the trust or does it deteriorate trust?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Unstoppable Marketer Podcast. It is Tuesday morning, and I've got my wonderful co-host here, Mark Goldhart. How are you, Mark Goldhart?
What up? Doing good?
Another day, another podcast. Yeah?
Yeah, I hope everyone had a happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, if you're listening, listen, if they're listening to that, Mother's Day was long. That was like 2-3 weeks ago, probably.
Yeah.
But for all you mothers out there,
you are appreciated.
Yeah, we love every one of you, and all you fathers out there, and soon-to-be moms. Well, all you fathers out there, I hope you treated your wives and your moms
wonderfully.
But
yeah, you had a good weekend then?
I did.
Sweet.
Great weekend.
I went out to the geode beds.
Yeah, you were talking about that on the last podcast that you were going to do that,
and we found them.
Yeah.
We found the geodes.
Found the geodes, got some toads.
Horny toads.
Didn't get the odes, but you got the toads.
We got the odes and the toads.
You did get the odes and the toads.
Yeah, we got some geodes.
Nice.
And some horny toads. Caught like 2 or 3 of them. So that was fun.
Speaking of
horny toads are not toads. Just so everyone knows, they are lizards.
Oh, really?
Some people think that they are. They're not toads. They're just called horny toads because they kind of have like flatter bellies.
They kind of look it.
But they're cool looking.
Interesting.
And they're really easy to catch at night when they get a little slow.
A little cooler, a little slow.
Yeah, they're just like a little lethargic.
I have a funny story. I'm stepping away from horny toads, but I'm keying in on the word horny. So
okay. I don't know where this is going.
I have a good story
kind of scary.
About the word horny. So we were taking care of our neighbor's dog.
Oh.
And while they were out of town for their son's wedding, which is down south in St. George.
And this story has something to do with horny?
Yes. Just stay with me.
So every day you've said it's about horny and there's a dog involved, and now I'm not very.
Well, yeah, I'm about to introduce other elements to this. So the other day, so my kids every day are going in and out of their house. You know, they wake up, they run over, they let the dog out because the dog stays there. The dog's not staying at our house. The dog just stays at the next door neighbor's house. They have a dog,
okay.
So they let him out, and then they'll bring him over to our house, for a few hours, and then we take him back. And anyways, they're doing that all day, and then my daughter, my oldest daughter, she comes in and she's 12 and she goes, I think that Dallin and his wife, that's the couple that just got married. He's like, I think that they're back. And my wife is like, oh yeah, they did say the mom did say that they might be coming back a day early to go hop on their flight for their honeymoon. And we were going to say a day later. And she's like, yeah, there was just a new car in the parking or in the garage that wasn't there, and it said "honk if you're horny." It was just so weird. That's what my daughter said. She just said it so naturally, and I was in the other room.
The car.
Yeah, the car. You know, like when people get married, it says "just married" and Venmo me. And
I understand. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And
so I'm still weirded out
on the window.
Thoroughly weirded out, but okay.
On the window it says "honk if you're horny," and I was in the other room and I hear my daughter talking about the word horny and asking my wife what horny meant, and that was it. My wife just deflected. We didn't discuss.
Oh,
we just deflected. But I just thought it was funny. Just my daughter just.
That is funny, but pretty anticlimactic story.
Yeah. After I said it.
No, that pun was intended, just so everyone knows.
Nice. That was good. Yeah. But yeah, there's my anticlimactic horny story. For you. Well, anyways.
In other news, geodes, just so you know.
Oh, back to geodes, yeah.
You can sell those suckers for $500 to $1,000 each.
Yeah.
So my kids want to make a full business venture out of it.
Yeah.
They want to go out. They want to go to the best spots. They want to find some geodes. Our neighbor has a rock cutter.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good time to do that. There's a lot of girls into crystals right now and stuff. So,
yeah. Tie it to astrology.
Yeah, like some crystal-y magic.
Yeah.
some like earthiness.
Yeah. I like it.
Some wizardry.
We'll see. Yeah. And you guys are in like the Salt Lake area, which seems to be that.
And the kids yearn for the mines. The children yearn for the mines. They want to go dig, find treasures.
In other news, China and U.S. came to some good agreements over the weekend.
Sort of, but yeah.
90 days.
90 days, man.
145% tariffs down to 30, which is awesome.
And
which is more like what it was back in 2018, 2019, right?
It's doable.
I think it was 20%.
From the people we've talked to, that's like very good.
Well, what's really funny is
very manageable.
If at the beginning you would have said it's 30%, everyone would have been pissed. Oh my gosh, my costs are going up 30%. But now when you go from 145 down to 30, I think it was a good marketing tactic. Actually, now everybody's like relieved. Oh, only 30%. That's the vibe we're getting as we're talking to other people.
Yeah, the hardest thing about the Trump administration is you just don't know till you know. So there's a level of uncertainty that kind of scares people.
Sure.
Now, I mean, I'm a fan of certain moves of any administration, but in particular this one, like I think there needs to be a rebalancing with China. Like I think we're a little too dependent on China, especially and less so with like e-commerce, right? More so with just like pharmaceuticals and
then like the lithium ion stuff, like
some rare earth metals, stuff like that.
Rare earth metal stuff is tough.
But I mean, once we start mining asteroids, it won't matter, but that's maybe 50 years away.
Or sooner, depending on how involved Elon's in.
Depends on how like futurist you want me to go.
Yeah.
But anyways.
So that's good news. That's good news for the next 90 days. That started, was it on Saturday or Sunday?
It was announced Saturday. But look, the deal is, if you don't know this, China was facing like large unemployment numbers, and it's mostly affecting the youth, and I think they were nervous.
Yeah.
So
good moves all around.
Now, like whether you want to say who won or lost, I mean, I know that U.S. import or U.S. tariffs going to China are 10%.
Yeah, they were like 125.
Chinese are 30% coming here. So I mean, there's still.
It seems like everyone's won.
I don't know if you'd call it winning, but maybe better. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. So that's great.
You know, obviously it's not going to make certain things cheaper, but
yeah.
Inflation's down too, so let's see what happens over the next.
Stock market's looking good. So we'll see what happens. It could be a great buy. Like if you're an e-commerce business, this is the time where now things start to pick up. Consumers are a little happier, right? A little less scared. There's a really good chance that.
Well, how long is this? When does this episode drop? In 2 weeks?
Yeah. Probably 2 weeks from now.
Well,
so, which would be it's the 13th today as we're talking.
Okay, cool. 2 weeks from now, you're already late.
Yeah.
Because summer is not it.
That's true. Yeah. That's very true.
You got about a month and a half, 2 months. So
especially, that's a good topic. And maybe this podcast episode should transition slightly to that. I still want to talk about what we discussed, but that is a really good thing to bring up. Is especially what Mark is saying is businesses just tend to slow down a little bit in the summer. Now, don't come at me because there's obviously some businesses that do great, right? We've got a client right now who sells like summer clothes collections that are like very experiential and they crush it in the summer, you know? But if you are a kids clothing brand that sells primarily to moms, summers are going to be a little more rough for you. Why?
Well, listen, it doesn't matter who you are. Summer's generally more rough unless you have a niche that is very seasonal for the summer. And even that's going to lean early summer.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have people who are on vacation. You have people whose kids are in the house. So instead of moms who generally make 80, 90% of the purchasing power in a home.
It actually comes back to just, let's just back it up, right? If your business relies on social media to sell, your viewership goes down.
Yep.
in the summer.
Yeah.
People are busier. People are doing things. They're outside. They're not looking at their phones quite as much in the same way. So that's really all it boils down to. It's just a supply demand equation on the
less demand
placement side of advertisement.
Yep.
So there's less demand from the consumer standpoint of looking at their phones and scrolling social media.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my content always takes a hit in the summer too. Like, so it's just.
So yeah, like that's what it is.
That's just how it is. You know,
that people aren't buying anything. It's just like, how do you reach them? Yeah,
it's like clockwork. Once school is back out, like once school's out, so probably a week from now, because my kids get out, not this Friday, but the next, And so my content will start to do this. Right now it's doing this. It'll probably start to plateau and do this.
So
unless I'm just so creative.
Yeah, like, I mean, look, you can still have success. We're not saying that no one ever has it. It's just generally CPMs go a little down in the summer because
it's true. Because the demand is less.
Because some people stop advertising as much. Like, it's just seasonal. Like, yeah, it's just a seasonal equation. But nonetheless, if you're 2 weeks from now, hopefully you have tried to take advantage.
Yeah. Great time to do
before the summer.
Collaborative stuff, to do some good sales, right? You're probably, in the midst of Memorial Day sale when this is going off, which is a great opportunity for a lot of people. Speaking of content and content doing well, and this is going to be old news, but there's a really good principle behind it, and I think it's an important one. So have you seen what's going on with Yellowstone National Park's TikTok account? You heard about this at all?
No, I mean, I'm going to Yellowstone in July.
Okay. But do you follow them on TikTok? It's mostly TikTok. It's not Instagram.
No, I don't.
So over the, last little bit,
to be honest, I just don't really get on TikTok.
Yeah. A
little too much of a
digital
opioid for me.
They have gone completely like unhinged.
Oh, cool.
Like something you would never imagine.
Like a Doritos account or a Taco Bell. Who was it? Was it Doritos or Taco Bell?
Butter.
Remember
Nutter Butter went like wild?
Yeah.
This is different. Like these guys are dropping like thirst traps as the hook. So this, like, for example, this guy right here. and then it like will go to like a beautiful view. And it's always like dirty-ish lyric music, but it's going berserk. So their Google trend, Yellowstone, if you type in Yellowstone National Park in Google Trends, skyrocketing right now. Absolutely skyrocketing. If you type in Yellowstone National Park, everyone is creating content about how nuts this is. So anyway, this guy right here, he is an adult content creator. So the reason how I found this out, by the way, is this guy just creates OnlyFans content for women. Okay. And he is...
so are they stitching it?
So they're stitching it. Yep. So they're stitching his stuff, which is public. You can do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're stitching all these like hot content creators and that are like, not explicit, but somewhat.
Okay.
And this guy, it's actually a super funny story. He posted this video like, I had no idea what was going on. He's like, I've been like on a fishing trip for the last 2 weeks with no cell service. And I came back to like my OnlyFans account, like skyrocketing. Like I've gotten more business because of what's happening. Like these guys are posting all my videos and it's all these women are finding out about it.
Okay.
And so he's blowing up and he had no idea and he's like super excited about it. But anyways, Yellowstone, the reason why I'm bringing this up is if you look at national parks, now listen, I'm not saying this is a good idea. Okay. But TikTok hasn't had a national park trending since I've been on. I've never seen it. Okay. And the reason, the thing about national parks is everybody's doing the same thing. Let's post a beautiful picture of this canyon, this river, this lake, these bison, these bears. And those are cool. But to the naked eye, I wouldn't know if that's Glacier National. I wouldn't know if that's, Zion's. I wouldn't know if that's us here in Utah. We know the difference just because we're so close to it all.
Yeah, you're saying all these things, and I'm like, yeah. You can tell the difference.
But I would imagine most people wouldn't.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah,
I imagine most people, if they're looking at something, they'd be like,
true.
"Oh, is that Glacier National? Is that Banff? Is that what is that?"
That'd be fun. You should test me. We should pull up pictures from each one. Test me if I know what national park it is.
So it's just an interesting way that they've stood out. So that's going to be the thing I'm super curious about. Is I'm hoping somebody will do some sort of study to be like I hopped on Airbnb to see if I could was it hard for me to book an Airbnb in Yellowstone, just to see if it was getting booked. Because that's what you don't know. Is is this translating to visits?
No,
I don't know the answer.
Absolutely not.
Probably not. But
I can almost guarantee it's not translating to anything for them. Maybe some merch sales.
Maybe. But nonetheless, they're getting people watching them. And all eyes are on Yellowstone National Park right now. And now what's happening is other national parks are jumping in on the trend.
Yeah, that's funny. Interesting.
So, I like it.
I mean, there might be a little, maybe they're feeling desperate because bookings might be down. I know U.S. tourism's down a little bit this year. So maybe bookings for national parks are down and they're trying to get more traction. I'd be interested to see if it's actually translating. It's just people who go to national parks are people that go to national parks,
Sure.
And then you have the one-offers.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who goes to national parks.
Right. And I'm somebody who goes once every 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
Now that my son's at a different age, we're going to start doing it yearly. Like a guy's thing. But yeah, we're more of the people who are one-offers.
Every year we're going to
I've been to all
2.
the national parks within the 5-hour, 6-hour drive in my lifetime. Sometimes more than once.
Yeah, we try to make, we went to Redwoods, for example. That's a state and national park. But we went to Redwoods in California. And we like to do that kind of stuff. But that's why I'm curious. It goes back to the question of who your actual audience is. Are you converting a lot? How many people are you converting?
Yeah, views doesn't always mean conversions. And
attention isn't
we're thinking conversions, by the way, for them as visits.
Visits or merch sales. I don't know. Maybe merch sales.
I didn't look to see if
maybe
there's a website that's selling merch.
But if the lesson, we don't want to take that story too far. It doesn't need to go where.
Yeah, and there's a good chance by the time you listen to this, it's not even news anymore.
I'm a little bit of an altruist when it comes to nature, so kind of grosses me out that's a trend.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you people? You can't just love national parks because they're freaking incredible.
You know what? But maybe it's getting eyes on people who are I did not know that it was that beautiful. I've heard about this, but I did not know that it looked like that.
That's true. Yeah.
We got to go,
Maybe.
So when in doubt, thirst trap.
What?
That's the lesson here.
Sex
Podcast
sales.
over.
So if you're struggling with sales and attention, get some OnlyFan creators.
Yeah, I guess so. Stitch an OnlyFan creator. All right. Well, let's jump into topic today. We've had this.
What is brand?
Yeah, we've had this. This has been a conversation we've had with clients of ours. It's been it's always a topic with prospective clients. We had a group of people in the office the other day where we were doing a little lunch get together where we just chatted about brands, and it was brought up in there. But the question is, okay, what is the question?
Well, the question is,
how do we want to pose this?
What is on brand enough?
Or maybe the better question is, do my ads need to be on brand?
Yeah. So is it on brand enough?
And if the answer is yes, how much on brand does it need to be?
So let's start the conversation with why is there this idea that there needs to be this super cohesive styling across experiences?
I mean, I think that has always been, I can go back to like my marketing classes when I was back in like 2009, you know, and that was something that was like taught in our brain, is that every touch point needed to be cohesive. Like that's a very, and I'm not saying it's outdated necessarily. So don't get me wrong when I'm saying that that's outdated, but that was a principle taught to me, you know, what we're almost 20 years later.
Yeah.
You know, the last 15 years, that was such an ingrained thing.
Yeah. I think it is outdated actually.
Yeah. I mean, I believe it is personally, but I think that
you have to remember it comes from the Google world, right?
Explain what you mean by that.
Well, you know, Google advertising was the first to kick this whole thing off, and the search thing was like, hey, you have to match like the keywords with the landing page, and you have to make sure like the experience is cohesive. Like, hey, if they're searching for toothpaste, mint, it has to be a mint toothpaste page, and it has to match up. And then it translated over to more like the display side of like matching it, like, oh, like this is what your ad looks like. It needs to make sure it matches over here.
Yeah.
But I think where things have gotten lost is you just have to make sure that people don't think they're in the wrong place.
Sure.
So it's more of a semantic game than it is a true styling game.
Yeah, I think that
it's more of a, hey, I'm expecting to go to what kind of experience. It doesn't mean everything has to match up perfectly from the ad to the landing page. It's simply, I'm clicking on an ad that is telling me about sunglasses.
Sure. Am I going to go somewhere that tells me about sunglasses?
But I'm going to an article about sunglasses. Like that might be strange.
Not a cohesive
It might work,
experience.
right? But it might be like, why am I on an article?
Sure.
It might take you to a product page, and that's what they're expecting. So it's really more of, are you aligning the landing experience with the expectation, right, of the user, not so much your expectation as a brand.
Yeah, I think that there's maybe a much deeper discussion, and we're actually going to have like two people that I am so excited to have on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. So it's somebody we've had on before. His name's Tommy Higgum. He's the founder at Lola Blankets, but we're having him and his head of branding. Her name is Samantha. They're going to both be on the podcast in the next couple of weeks.
Oh,
and
fun.
That's all we're going to talk about is brand, because that's what they do, is like they are branding experts. They have gotten Lola Blankets to where it's at simply because of their branding, you know, and the decisions that they've made around it. So really quickly, to me, a brand is more the experience that you're giving the customer. Like, I think that's the most simple way to define it. It's the experience. And there are dozens of different ways you can help somebody experience.
Yes.
From
now,
a landing page to the product to the packaging.
So I've brought this up in the past, but I will stand and die on this hill. It is like when you distill this whole conversation around brand, all you're really saying is like a brand is the trust you've built.
Yeah.
It's just trust.
Yeah.
So does the experience build the trust, or does it deteriorate trust?
This episode of The Unstoppable Marketer is brought to you by BFF Creative. Let's be real, hiring designers and video editors can get super expensive, and that's why I'm excited about what BFF Creative has done. They've built a subscription design service that gives you the feel of an in-house creative team, but at a fraction of the cost, which I'm sure we all could use right now. From ad creatives to social media posts, video edits to full website designs, BFF gives you unlimited designs and unlimited requests starting at just $1,000 a month. The best part about this, their custom app makes it super easy to submit projects, give feedback, review work, and store all of your creative in one place. As a listener of the podcast, you get 25% off your first 2 months with code Unstoppable25. That means unlimited creative for as little as $750 a month. Go check them out right now at bffcreative.co.
If you're selling luxury blankets like Lola, like those aren't cheap.
No.
I mean, what are they? 200, 300 bucks?
They're probably anywhere from like 175 to 350, depending on your size.
So that's not an impulse buy, right? Like their brand, like what they're building trust on is that it's a luxury experience.
Yep.
So there's going to be things that you're going to be a little bit more hesitant to display on an ad if it's not building trust that it's a luxurious experience.
It doesn't have the luxury aspect to it.
However, does that mean you can't use cheap produced UGC?
No.
Or does that mean you have to have some kind of like Vogue-esque model in a studio
with a Tom Ford book on her coffee table?
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Should you have some of that in your mix? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Lola's billboards game here in Utah, I don't know how much they do it anywhere else, right? It's very much more of the high fashion, like the Tezza collab they did and you know, the stuff. It's like, it's very much like hot models.
Yeah.
Weird thing. Like, you know, like high fashion is just like weird.
It's adding fashion to blankets.
It's like you have a blanket and a guy working on a car. It's like, obviously that doesn't make sense.
There's
but
juxtapositions.
Yeah, it's like juxtaposition, visual juxtapositions that don't make sense, but it calls attention.
Highly attention grabbing.
It's very high fashion. Yeah. It's so they're doing this because they're trying to build trust around a luxury item.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't have trust around luxury blankets built around a creative that isn't high production.
Yeah, or isn't as luxurious as your website.
Yes.
Right? So can I give you a data point?
Sure.
So Mark and I, we've built, and we have another co-founder, we built a tool called Bestie AI, which is a post-purchase survey software.
Yes.
Right? It allows brands to ask questions after somebody purchases. So out on the thank you page, it's like, hey, how'd you hear about us? Or what motivated you to buy Lola blankets, you know? And one of the things that Mark and I remember in our like early stages that we were so set on, it was a feature that we had to build and we thought it was going to like sell like hotcakes and it was going to drive so much business for brands, was being able to...
It was called Creative Recall.
Yeah, we called it Creative Recall. What it was able to do was pull in the ad that the brands were showing. And if you ask the question, hey, how did you hear about us? And somebody said, oh, I saw an Instagram ad. You could then ask a follow-up question that said, do you remember which ad it was? And it would show your ads. And we thought, oh, dude, this is going to crush it. Like they're going to be able to send that creative back to their creative team to be like, go get more of this, you know?
This is going to crush. Yeah.
But we'd have this section there, you know, it would randomize it, right? But it would also have like the very last response was, I don't remember. Okay. We introduced this to several brands and I want to say it was over like 80% across all brands said, I don't remember. Do you remember the ad that brought you? And oftentimes it was the ad that brought, most brands have I see an ad and I buy, right? There were some of these brands that it was like $20 to $50 AOVs that are not like weeks long's worth of me seeing ads before I decide to make a purchase. Oftentimes it's cool. And even that day, they couldn't remember what ad they saw. So it's a very interesting data. The reason why I bring this data point up is because advertising, especially on platforms like Meta or TikTok or whatever, visual advertising platforms, YouTube, it really has one goal. And that goal is to get you to the next step. It's not to sell it. It's not to build the brand. The goal of an ad is to get that customer interested in what you're selling enough to take the very next step.
Which is to enter into your store.
Which is to enter into the funnel, which is your store. A landing page, a product page, a home page, a collection page,
or,
whatever.
You know, it could be even more top funnel. It could be just interact with your brand.
Sure.
in a positive way.
Yeah. Maybe it's sending people to become a follower and to understand what your content looks like or whatever. But I think that that's a really important element that people miss. Now, if I take it a step further, it's to get a person to get to the next page at the cheapest cost possible. Yes? Now, obviously, that doesn't work if it's the wrong people.
Oh, for
So
sure.
you got to make sure it's the right people. But that's where the messaging on the ad is really important. That's where the experience when they land is really important. So if you're, selling meals, home delivery meals to moms because they're too busy, right? Does the ad convey that? And then when they land, is it talking about how much time you're going to save that mom? Hey, on average, moms spend 8 hours a week making dinner. This meal delivery cuts that in half.
Yeah.
So you can spend more time with the people that you love the most or something like that, right? That's the experience that we start to talk. That's the brand building, right? That's where brand building starts, is when you tell me how the solution, how the problem is going, how your product is going to fix my problem. And then hopefully your product,
the product actually delivers.
And then hopefully if your product delivers, then that goes back to what Mark said, which is branding is all about the trust you build, right? So if the product delivers and, oh my gosh, I went from, I am that mom who spends 8 hours a day, 8 hours a week cooking dinner, and I actually only spent 2. Like, if it's any mom out there would be like, that would be incredible. If you could give me 6 hours back of my day, that would be amazing. For her to work out, or for her to do something for herself, for her to clean the house, or for her to do her job. Do
they actually feel feel the benefits?
And then what happens is they keep ordering and ordering because I can't live without my extra 6 hours a week. If I had to do that again,
or whatever,
and they can justify the price around it. And that goes, I'm using this as an example. I don't know why that popped in my head. There's several swimsuits, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, it's just, does the product match the supposed trust that you've been building? Because again, it's a leap. Like when somebody is voting with their money, they're intrinsically trusting that they're going to receive a benefit.
Right.
It's not just a product.
Yeah.
It's, what is this product going to do for me?
Yeah. And the benefit isn't always you fixed my problem, like I had a flat tire and now I don't get flat tires. It's not always like that. It could be, I wasn't confident in my style and now I am.
Correct. Does it match the mental image that you've created?
Yeah.
And that's all that trust is, right? Like when you're talking about trust, like everybody has hopes and desires. Like, as silly as that sounds, like if you meet somebody, right? Everybody's hoping to meet cool people, right? And trustworthy people. So when you meet somebody and the expectation is, hey, this is going to be like just like a good person, like you're not pessimistic. But then that person like goes behind your back or does something.
Yeah.
It's jarring, right? Like
Sure.
it creates that dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody does something really cool for you, like, oh, hey, like just thought about you, like got this for you, or hey, how are you? Haven't talked to you in 6 months.
Yeah.
What's new?
Yeah.
Like a kind gesture. Like there's a reason why those go so far, because they build a lot of trust in somebody.
Yeah. And the reason why,
and that's what everyone's hoping for in people.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you can replicate that in your brand, then you're going to win.
You're always going to win.
Now, the next question is, how do I get as many people into that funnel as possible? Right? Like that would be the next question. So back to ads, I think sometimes the reason why this is such an important topic for us, that's what we do for a living, right? We run ads for people. We create ads for people. And so we're producing thousands of pieces of content every single month. Okay. So we understand this world. And what we have recognized is sometimes the highly polished on brand, right? And I'm using quotations as I say on brand, if you're listening, because I hear that so often, which is for a Lola, an on brand would be a attractive model, younger, fit, high fashion.
Now, I've looked at Lola's ads, and I just want to point this out. What Trevor's saying is, if you're listening or watching, what he's saying is this is the example of if Lola was so focused on, quote, brand,
the visual side of it.
All they would do is what he's describing.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Exactly. So,
because this is not all that they do.
Right. No.
They do a lot of this, but
we just, for whatever reason, because I brought them up, they are the subject.
They're the subject.
They are the subject here. And so tell me, guys, if you're listening to this, hopefully we're representing things okay here. But yes, they do both. But if they were to, if everything was on brand and looked like their billboards, for example, or their website, for example, the problem with that nowadays is that is so easily trained to our eyes as people who consume content daily, people who get, like, what was the last stat about how many ads we get a day?
Shoot, dude,
it's like
way too much.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 1,000 a day.
Yeah,
we are. I've heard some people say like 10,000 a day, and I just don't know if that's humanly possible. But I also have heard that the average person scrolls on social media for like 6 hours a day. So maybe that is
probably true.
True. So, but anyways, we are so trained to understand what an ad is versus what an ad isn't. And oftentimes the highly branded stuff will look very ad-esque. And the reason why the stuff that is, sometimes we call them ugly ads, or things that that are less polished and on brand. The reason why those do so well from an advertising perspective is because they trick the mind to thinking it's more organic, right? This looks like it's native. They call that native advertising, where it looks like it's a part of the experience.
Yeah, a good metaphor or analogy.
You've been good at off the cusp metaphors, so I'm excited for this.
What's your reaction when somebody knocks on your door selling you something?
I just don't want to answer.
Well, let's just say you answer, don't realize.
No.
How quick do you say no?
Like as quick as humanly possible.
Okay.
Hold on. Can I give everybody just a tip for this, by the way? The best tip for solicitors. This should go viral, by the way, when I say this.
You think so?
You will get rid of somebody immediately if you say these words. Okay? Let's say it's pest control. Okay, that's a pretty common one. Pest control guy comes by.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, we're out. It's always this. We're helping the Smiths across the street.
Yeah.
With their Black Widows. You seen some of those? I always just say my best friend owns a pest control company. We use them. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
Or my brother-in-law owns a window washing company. Sorry. You just say like it's your friend, it's a brother, and they just leave immediately. They don't even try. Because usually if you're like, hey, I don't need it, they're like, well, but we're doing a special, and they'll keep going. Now you know.
Yeah, my wife is very surprised about how direct and rude I'm not rude, but how direct I am with it.
No, my brother-in-law does it.
Really?
Thank you, though.
I always just say, no, I did summer sales. I know the spiel. Don't worry about it. And then I just say, bye.
Yeah. A little white lie. One of my best friends does own a pest control company. So that one is true.
That's true.
And that's how I knew it. A pest control guy came and I'm like, dude, I literally just switched to my best friend's company. I'm never switching back. And he's like, oh, I do the same thing. See ya. Sorry, go on. The metaphor is...
Okay, but the metaphor is,
when somebody comes, I want them gone as soon as possible.
You want them gone as soon as possible.
Because the longer they're around...
What do you do? Okay, here's the next question. Yep. What do you do when you're watching a game and the commercials come on?
You fast forward it?
If you can.
Yeah.
If you're watching live, what do you do?
Get up. Get a drink.
Do whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not pay attention. Look at your phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people have a natural aversion to ads.
Yes.
So you gotta do two things, right? You gotta use what you've got, but you have to either blend it in a way that it's it doesn't trigger that avoidance of like, just get it through. Like, I'm not trying to be sold to.
Yeah.
So you gotta, and again, the best door-to-door salesman their approaches are generally going to be a way that bring down the guard.
Yeah.
Right? They are going to make you be like, okay, I'll listen to you.
Yeah.
So whether that's like jokes or whether that's some kind of intro that's direct and honest and makes it so it's like, hey, just, I get it. I'm not wasting your time. Here's the deal. So the best door-to-door salesmen understand that like most people are just like, I don't want to be sold to right now. I'm home.
Yeah.
So don't sell to me.
Yeah.
So how do you sell to somebody who doesn't want to be sold to? Well, you got to work around it.
Natively work around it.
Yes. You got to make the experience way more organic.
Totally.
And that's hard.
Yeah.
So ugly ads make it so that you're bringing somebody's guard level down. So an ugly ad, that's what ugly ads can do for you.
Yeah.
They can bring somebody's guard level down to the point of, I'm considering this, I'm looking at this, and I'm not realizing it. So I'm not
recognizing that
I'm not trying to be sold to.
3 seconds into an ad. Yeah.
Yes. So, or you have to make the ad clever enough and interesting enough visually that they're willing to sit through the hook.
Mm-hmm.
So ugly ads, they do a really good job of bringing people's guard levels down, of introducing things organically. And we see a lot of success with them. They're not, but again, they're ugly.
Yeah, they're not
curated.
Quote unquote curated on brand piece of content.
No. But guess what? Everyone's getting sold to. Like, it's like door to door. Everybody is getting sold to all the time. So if you're not thinking about how to get around those barriers of people's minds, and when I say barriers, right, door to door is easy because like there's a physical barrier.
Sure.
So it's easy for someone to be like,
yeah,
bye.
Yeah.
Shut
Or
the
just
door.
or I don't even like, if somebody knocks and they're wearing a polo collared shirt, I know it's a salesman.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to answer.
So it's like,
I have my Ring doorbell. I see him.
like, yeah, don't care.
Yep.
But people have those same mental barriers.
Yeah.
And brands don't think enough. I believe people aren't thinking enough about, hey, how am I approaching this as if like they don't want it?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't, it's not that they don't want your product. They don't want to be sold to.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's in the bathroom on their phone hoping to go buy product.
No.
Right? They're mindlessly scrolling and they oftentimes buy products.
Yes.
Or at least get the first touch points to, in the future, say, oh, I'm going to go buy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're creating your ads, again, like don't get so caught up on what you perceive as a brand owner, or as a marketer, as brand.
Yeah.
Brand is just like, don't confuse brand with a style.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying styling elements aren't important.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any kind of cohesive experience, but ads, jobs, like you said, let's take a step back. What is the point of an ad?
The next step.
It's to get people to the next step. How do you get people to the next step? Well, guess what? When a door-to-door guy who's really good, and here in Utah, we know like there's tons of door-to-door sales companies here, including a church that does a lot of door-to-door sales.
Sure.
But the door-to-door sale companies, they have techniques, like it's all psychological, right? That you have to go in, and the best ones, they still get rejected a lot, right? Like you're still going to have a conversion rate that most people are not going to buy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've got to approach it in a way that just says, hey, how do I get people to the next step? So the door-to-door salesmen that win aren't the ones that necessarily have like the best middle of their entire spiel. It's the people that have the best intro to get more people to the next step.
Sure.
They're just better at getting people from instead of what, a 10% door to explanation rate is what we'll call it.
Mm-hmm.
They have a 20% door to explanation rate.
Yeah.
Right. So then they compound on the way down.
For sure. For sure.
And so that's ads. Like ads is, how do you get from open the door to you're letting me explain what it is?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I think as we come to the close here, I think one of the best things I can think of that just keeps popping in my mind, there's nothing that is worse for your brand than there's nothing that can be worse for your brand than not getting eyeballs on your brand.
Correct.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Right? Would you rather have,
well, we've seen this
10,000 people click on an ad that might have been not the most best representation of your ad, but then you can then put them in the brand funnel, than 100 people for the same cost, because those costs per clicks oftentimes can be more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the answer is I'd take the 10,000 personally, as long as it's, they're generally my audience. Right. So,
and guess what? Sometimes having a quote lesser aesthetic, an ad that's on the downside of aesthetics,
sure,
lead to a higher aesthetic experience can be delightful.
Very good point.
Right. Then I don't think a lot of brands think of it that way.
No. It's a surprise element.
It's like, whoa, this is
then takes them to potentially the next step. I want to learn more.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm clicking and now I'm on like a full on experience or whatever it is. Right. Yeah. So oftentimes they think like, oh, just because it doesn't match.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's like, oh, that's not true.
Yeah.
It's true if your site is horrible and ugly and your product images suck and everything, right? But all else equal, like it can be a step up. Like if you're giving them steps up in the experience, that's only going to be better.
Sure. Yeah. 100%.
But again, how do you get them to the next step? It's not always an aesthetic thing.
100%. Yeah. And most people just as well, like, most brands out there don't even really have a brand too, like that's another thing that needs to be understood. Like sometimes when you're so small,
you don't have a brand.
You don't really have,
like you don't even have like you have trust with
there's darling,
such a small percentage of people, like no one even knows who you are.
Yeah. There's darling brands here in Utah that are doing like 200 million, which that's so much money. Like 200 million is so much money
and phenomenal. Great.
And they have teams that have executives from the top companies in the world working for them. And you go to California and you ask somebody, hey, have you heard of this brand?
Like, no.
I haven't.
Who?
What do they do? Cool. Yeah, I'll check them out. It's just like...
It's funny because the e-com like D2C bubble makes you sometimes think...
Oh, everyone's got to
like if somebody's doing 100 million or more, it's like, oh man, these guys got to be well known. It's like,
them. Yeah.
Like guys, there are $1 billion brands that no one knows about.
Yeah. But really, until you're at that like $500 to $1 billion, right? Most people know who Skims are. Most people now who know who Vuori is. You're still, with even Vuori, people are going to be like,
Vuori, there's a lot of people that don't.
Same thing with Olipop and Poppy that just sold for what?
And look, Skims people know about because it's tied to Kim.
Kim Kardashian. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Without Kim, they could still be $1 billion company, but you might not know about them.
Oh, but I was just scrolling on Skims ads the other day, and you see a ton of ugly ads from Skims. And that's one of the most popular brands in the world right now, at least in the United States.
Yeah, it's just...
When I say most popular, I mean just people know who it is.
So I think we can wrap it up, but...
Don't get too caught up in that first touch point.
Just remember that a brand is a trust.
It's the experience.
It is the trust that they have built
I agree.
Around the experience. Yeah.
Let your guard down a little bit. Get people to your site. Have an exceptional experience on the site that makes somebody want to take the next step.
Guess what? If the ugly ad or whatever, if the ad doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You can pause it.
Yeah.
Well, if it does work,
let it ride.
What's the problem?
Let it rip.
Don't fix what's not broke.
Yeah. I agree.
That's all.
Amen.
Ciao.
Namaste.
Until next time.
Until next Tuesday. Well, thank you, everybody. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.